I was tripping my face off last night, and out of nowhere, Bobby shows up, holding a beating heart in his hand. I said, "All right, Spencer, it's time to consume the animal." And then Casey was there, eating some bacon. I don't even think he likes bacon. He had a good time. See how it goes. Okay, but in a little more serious of a context, I decided to start a new experiment. And in order to share what I'm choosing to do, I'd like to share the background of what I have been doing. Those of you that have been following me know that I've been basically curating an elemental diet, compound by compound, collecting and studying and learning about all of the different nutrients necessary to optimally fuel the human body. This ended up looking like a protein shake or a protein bar that was a majority fat, because I'm primarily keto. I like living that way, I'm subsisting that way. And also in this last month, much higher in protein. I've been between 200 and 300 grams of protein. In the last month and a half or so, I've been using whey protein. I hadn't used that in years either. The more that I study the intricacies of all of the amino acids and the minerals and the vitamins and all these different necessary nutrients that we need, my approach has been reverse engineering food. And the more I learn about what ideal is, the more that I see how ideal the package of the animal is. And it puts me in a very profound place of reflection. It brings up the idea of death, of inflicting suffering or pain on another. A lot of reflection, a lot of contemplation, and it's been a profound experience for me. However, I have decided, where I am now, that it is at least worth it for me to try and experiment with it, perhaps a month, and see how it feels. Because I believe if you're not fully living, fully thriving, then you're not living. If you're half alive, and I want to embody and experience my full potential. And if a lifestyle of an animal-based diet does that for me, then I want to experience that. And at the very least, I will know with certainty if it does or not, as opposed to just wondering. So that's one of my biggest drivers of actually trying closer to a carnivore diet. Because just through my own backwards research, as I said, I've been doing it vegan for 3.5 years, minus I had a stint of animal-based keto about 3 years ago for a couple months. And coming at it from a macronutrient point of view and a micronutrient point of view, out of all the research that I've done to assemble an elemental diet, which I still find profoundly useful and will still maintain to a degree, the animal product just has the highest concentration of these nutrients in the ratios of macronutrients that I want to consume. Some of the primary reasons that drove me away from eating animal in the first place: carcinogens, ages, high methionine content, impact on the environment. The last one was not as profound to me because I know if I support a biodynamic farm, so to speak, or ranchers who are farming in a holistic manner, that it's not detrimental but in fact valuable to the environment to raise cattle. That's one way that they actually reestablish and help to replenish cut down rainforests. Is first they bring in the cattle, because they'll eat the grass that grow and create the fertilizer to stimulate the next phase of evolution in the forest. So that's not a big one for me, because I know that I would seek out the ideal source and people who are farming properly. The methionine content, it's been shown that high protein diets shorten lifespan. However, more recently, more of the research that I've been doing, it's not so clear, it's not so black and white. There's a lot of different variables, and in fact, out of 25 different diets, all choosing different macronutrient ratios, the longest median lifespan elongation was from a 40% protein diet, which would be considered high. However, they chose to label that article as carbohydrates lengthen lifespan because the longest maximum lifespan was from the high carbohydrate diet. But the median lifespan was nearly that length and 15% higher than the closest other um, macronutrient profile dietary lifespan elongation. So, and for me, when I'm eating higher protein, it's just satiating. I feel it helping my body to regenerate. On this past month and a half, I started to include glycine and proline, two of the big missing keys. Glycine seems to counter the problem of methionine. Glycine counterbalances excess methionine, which can create, I forget the name of it right now, but basically an extra stressor in the body. Glycine helps to balance that out. And so high glycine diets by themselves can lengthen lifespan by a great deal. So I've been including glycine and proline, the second most abundant amino acid in collagen, in my diet for this last month and a half. And from that, my knee pain, this tendon, I was in a motorcycle accident years ago that has been really bothering me for about the last 6 months, has almost completely gone away. This hip stressor that I kept pulling over the past few years has almost completely gone away. So high glycine, that's something I also see that people who are complaining about not recovering properly, adding that glycine and the proline is key. Like, you don't have to go into animal products to do that. If you're having digestive issues, absorption issues, Crohn's disease, IBS, glycine and proline, they both help to regenerate the building blocks of our bodies, of our tissues. They're one of the most fundamental, glycine being the simplest amino acid, is one of the most fundamental building blocks of all of our tissues. So when we're trying to rebuild our body, we want to have a high amount of glycine. Where do you get that? Tendons, collagen, bone marrow, bone broth. So seeing that high protein is not as bad as I thought it was, that high methionine can be counterbalanced by, say, bone broth if you're eating head to tail, the whole animal, or supplementing glycine, which I still plan to do, that takes that worry away. Ages and carcinogens are all based on the preparation method, how you're choosing to prepare the meat. Now, if you're cooking it and frying it, the ages go up to around 12,000 units in the way that they rate them. If it's raw meat, it's somewhere around 700. Now, cooked soybeans are around 700. Peanuts are around 700. So I wasn't really privy to the idea that meat could be prepared in such a way that the ages and the negative impact are greatly lessened. So when you cook things in a water-rich environment, either boiling, pressure cooking being ideal, there's a French form of preparation where they actually put it in a food-safe plastic bag, airtight seasonings, and they simmer it in water around 130 degrees for an hour. And what this does is it's not too hot to where it doesn't denature the proteins, but it breaks down the cartilage and the collagen to become more absorbable. And there's very little, if any, ages generated in the process. So you have ages and you have ales, advanced glycative end products, advanced lipooxidative end products. So the oxidation of fats and the glycation of proteins with glucose are two of the most prominent factors in aging. They build up in the body over years and will lead to the failure of different systems, organ systems, build up in the skin, causing wrinkles, causing malfunctions in your organs. So the idea of minimizing ages has a lot of merit to it. There's a lot of research supporting that philosophy. So if you can prepare your animal product in such a way that you're not increasing ages, that's ideal. So that seems extremely possible. That it also really minimizes the amount of resources that I have to call on. I can go to the ranch here, see how the cows are raised. They're all 100% grass-fed. I'm gonna go tune in with different butchers and just get a vibe of the environment and the scene and how it's all processed. And that alone takes out multiple other things that I've sourced from supplements. So I'm isolating what I'm buying and simplifying my consumption. And in a backwards way, when we support farmers who are raising cattle holistically, you have to have a healthy environment underneath in order to raise a healthy animal. So if you support a farmer who is raising food biodynamically, naturally, then you are in turn actually refeeding the environment. So these are all points that have just put me in a position to where I am looking forward to trying it. It's been years since I've consumed animal products. I've been vegan or vegetarian for the last 15 years. I've had periods of pescatarian. I really haven't eaten steak in 15 years maybe. Maybe I had some once. But largely pescatarian when I was eating meat. About 3 years ago I was keto animal product style, and that was mainly like fish and sardines and oils. Even olive oil has drastically higher amount of ages in it than raw meat per gram. So that's trippy, you know. I know I press my oils fresh. Cream has a lower amount of glycative end products. Milk has a lower amount of glycative end products, probably because it has built-in antioxidant protection in it. So does olive oil too, and who knows what olive oils they were testing. I know that if I'm pressing mine fresh, I'm using chia oil, I'm stoked on that, I'm still gonna use it. But the fatty acid profile of the animal products is also something that really has my attention, being that I've lived ketogenically for so many years. And one of the questions, it's a hotly debated topic in the realm of science, is what are the ideal fatty acids? What's the ideal ratio of alpha linoleic to linoleic acid? How much saturated fatty acids? What chain length? If they're in the SN1, SN2, or SN3 position of how the hydrogens are linked onto the carbon chains, that all affects how the fat actually comes into our body. So these are all things that I can only guess at based on the research that I've read. And when I look at the complexity, there are over 400 different types of fatty acids in cream, in milk. That's profound. Now, different fatty acids have different effects on the body. It's high in CLA, which helps lower body fat, helps, it's anti-inflammatory, helps create a healthy microbiome or intestinal morphology, intestinal tract. So the complexity of the nutrition that's in animal products is just beyond what I will be able to guess at currently based on our science. And granted, it's coming closer and closer, and there are still ways that I would like to shape it. Like, for instance, I'm not gonna make bone broth that often, so I want to supplement collagen because of what I've read about collagen. Collagen and protein, I'm gonna ingest high amounts of those still. When I prepare meat, I'm gonna do it in one of those low ages manners. And one of the main things that I want to pay attention to, that I will document and pay attention to, is how it affects my state of mind. Because one of my main drivers as to wanting to try this is that I'm healthy, I'm in good shape. I don't feel that much drive. I don't feel that much yearning to expand, that much passion, to be honest. And I know that the intensity at which I live, I still train. There's a level of it for sure, but it's almost a dullness. And perhaps, you know, in a Taoist way, that's kind of ideal, more of a passive nature. But I want to see elementally, mentally, how this type of food affects my psychology and my meditation. Now, to the traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurveda, that's more of a fiery food. There's going to be more will, more desire, more passion if you eat a lot of meat. It's a fiery food. So, it's an interesting thing to note, and I'm really curious to see how it's going to affect me. I'm going to tune in with the butchery and check out the ranch, and probably start with some liver and a cut of meat of some sort, and do it either in a pressure cooker or that sous verde. I forget how they pronounce it. They put it in a food grade plastic bag, simmer it in hot water with herbs, and try that out, see how it affects me. Otherwise, I've been feeling pretty damn good considering. The diet that I've created, basically protein supplemented with a few amino acids, with multi-mineral supplement, with fresh pressed oil. I was using red palm oil as well as chia oil mixed together in a smoothie or into a food bar. Actually, I'm getting a dough maker so I can make my own protein bars out of it. Has been fantastic, and I've literally consumed nothing but that for the last like 2 months. So I've been able to train on it, been able to recover on it, and been feeling my joint issues going away. I don't ever have digestive issues, and it just, the more that I'm reading about it, most recently I got interested in cream. Yesterday I drank cream, mainly because of the fatty acid profile, and it was curious because I did note I drank a good amount of it, and by the end of the day I felt an air of depression. I described it to my friend as a feeling of impending doom. So if I get any of these kind of feelings, or if my energy starts going in that way, then I'm just gonna drop it and go back to the last most ideal platform that I've been on. But however, that could be just such a high amount of saturated fatty acids, such a rapid change in what I chose to ingest. And also, I believe ideally I would basically go half and half with chia oil, which is high in ALA. These other oils can lower insulin sensitivity, thicken the blood. Chia does the opposite. It also raises HDL, lowers LDL, lowers triglycerides. So I think they're a pretty much ideal combo for where I'm at now. So that's going to be my fat source. And then that hydrolyzed whey protein is what I've been on. If I could find a good source of hydrolyzed soy, I'd try that because it's damn close. That's totally the realistic potential of a vegan substitute is hydrolyzed soy with different aminos supplemented. When I find that source, I'll definitely try it. However, that's where I've been, and I'm going to continue to use that, perhaps intermittently. I don't know what it's going to look like as for how I eat on what days, but going for the fresh is the best. Get to know your local farmer, support the rancher. I want to understand the process and all of it, and it's going to be an interesting time. So I'll keep you guys updated. Lots of love. Always appreciate thoughts, suggestions, and see you next time. Aloha.